Just how long is the average wait time at the DMV? A recent report by the state auditor finds visit times have climbed to 1 hour and 15 minutes, and that is up 15% since 2019. Now, that doesn't even count the time just spent waiting in line to check in. The state auditor's office came up with a series of ways to fix the DMV's outdated technology and their shortage of staff issue, including hiring more licensed examiners, particularly in high-demand regions. Now, as of April, 160 examiner positions were still unfilled all across the state. Another solution, a fast pass lane where people could pay a premium to move to the front of the line, similar to what you would do for TSA PreCheck or a toll road express lane. And then there's this idea, transforming those empty Spirit Halloween stores into temporary DMV offices to help handle overflow and reduce bottlenecks. So today we are joined by the state auditor, Dave Boliek. One thing I wanted to kind of talk about was that you released this report, right, just about a week ago or so.
Yep.
And so I think people thought, okay, let's make these changes right now.
Yeah, well, nothing in state government is going to happen overnight, but I do think that there is an opportunity for the DMV to get things right and for the state of North Carolina to do right by the citizens. If these recommendations are put into place, we can move, to use a sports analogy, move the ball down the field. Top line, though, over everything is, our team really found the necessity to separate DMV from the Department of Transportation. Now it's a part of the Department of Transportation. It really ought to be its own agency because really the DOT, they've got their hands full with laying asphalt, pouring concrete, building bridges, helping to fix Western North Carolina, and the two missions of those organizations really don't necessarily align.
So how do we make that happen? What kinds of processes need to go?
Well, first and foremost would be legislation to separate the two. But from the beginning, speaking of right now, some of the things that our audit also found is that DMV has new full-time employees authorized by the General Assembly, 40 new positions, and they still have openings. But those openings and new positions, they don't do any good unless there's a complete and comprehensive staffing plan. And we found that DMV lacked a comprehensive staffing plan. So really targeting those top 12 really hotspot places. For example, Harnett County, serving 56,000 North Carolinians with one DMV license examiner. That's just clearly not enough resources being put in that particular location to serve the public.
How do we get someone, though, to take the jobs there in those smaller counties where maybe the pay is not as good?
Well, and we also recommended taking a look at the pay structure of the DMV license examiner and also looking at market differences. For example, it costs a certain amount of money to live and work in Guilford County and Greensboro and Forsyth County. It may be a different cost of living in an eastern North Carolina rural county, right? So we need to take a look at modernizing the pay scale to really pay people what they're worth in particular parts of North Carolina.
I think it's a hard sell when you say, hey, we're DMV, we've got jobs. People go, oh, no.
Well, I mean, look, I'd love to see license examiner positions, for example, be the job, right? And part of that is pay. Part of that is providing them the resources because we found and we interviewed license examiners from across the state of North Carolina. By the way, we've got some fantastic folks working for the DMV and they want you to get a driver's license, but they also need and want the resources to help you get it quick.
Okay, what about the morale for those who are already working at the DMV?
Yeah, I think morale we found to be low right now, and a lot of that is because the resources just haven't been put into place. And as we went around the state and talked to those examiners and folks that work on the front line, we found that their opinions weren't really taken into account by previous administrations. I'll give the current commissioner a lot of credit. He's out there working really hard to try to turn it around, and I think he's got the right energy level. And he has done what our audit did, which is ask the folks on the front line, hey, suggestions, how do we get this fixed? They know better than anybody really how to move people through the line.
So for people who are at home and they think to themselves, I really want some changes and I want them kind of quickly, they need to probably get on their lawmakers who are representing them saying, hey, I want you to take a look at this. I want you to do something.
Yeah, and I think there's an appetite for the General Assembly to fix it. They took the first step with the mini budget that passed last week to provide 40 additional positions. So that's a really good start. And I think that the commissioner is working to try to fill those 160 vacancies. But quite frankly, he needs some flexibility. He needs to be able to be more nimble, and that agency needs to be more nimble in order to answer what is a changing demographic and a changing population across the state of North Carolina. You know, having to run things up a flagpole through a mother agency really is not as efficient as it could be at the Division of Motor Vehicles. And that's quite frankly what our team found in our audit.
All right, we got about a minute left or so. So DMV, it impacts millions and millions of North Carolinians. Who is the next person that you're looking at to say, okay, we need to do an audit for this that also impacts millions of North Carolinians?
Well, the biggest thing we want to do at the State Auditor's Office, and what I'm committed to doing, is to making the State Auditor's Office relevant to everyday North Carolinians. This DMV audit is a perfect example of that. It affects all North Carolinians. And so, you know, our efforts are going to look across state government. The DAVE Act, which creates the Division of Accountability, Value, and Efficiency in our office, passed the legislature. The governor signed it into law. We have additional resources now. We're going to fan out across the state of North Carolina and look for efficiencies with an eye toward return on investment. It's not going to be all cut. It's going to be through the lens of what type of return on investment are taxpayers getting from their hard-earned money that they send to Raleigh.
All right, well, we look forward to the improvements all the way around from DMV and whatever else. So thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. With DMV, I'm a dog with a bone, and I'm going to stay on it until we get it fixed.
All right.